Welcome to Part B of our unit, which focuses on terrestrial biomes. Our learning objective here is to explain the global distribution and key environmental aspects of these biomes. As you can see from this diagram, terrestrial biomes are geographical regions that have a specific combination of average annual temperature and precipitation. The type of biome is largely defined by the dominant plant growth forms that are adapted to that climate. This pyramid, which we'll refer to throughout this section, shows how different biomes are distributed based on a decreasing temperature gradient from bottom to top and a decreasing moisture gradient from left to right. A habitat is the specific area where a species lives in nature. As we move through this section, we'll see that species habitat is determined by the biome it lives in. We can use a diagram like this one on the next slide called a climatograph to illustrate the patterns of annual temperature and precipitation that define each biome. This is an example of a climatograph for Lahti, Finland. The bar graph shows the monthly precipitation in millimeters, and the line graph shows the average monthly temperature in degrees Celsius. By looking at this graph, you can see that Lahti has a colder climate with more precipitation during the summer months. This world map shows the global distribution of biomes. You can see a clear pattern here. Latitude, or the distance from the equator, largely determines the temperature and precipitation of an area. This is why biomes exist in a predictable pattern on Earth. For example, tundras and boreal forests are found at higher latitudes, typically above 60 degrees north. Temperate biomes are found in the mid-latitudes between 30 degrees and 60 degrees, and tropical biomes are located closer to the equator. The key takeaway is that biomes are defined by their average annual temperature and precipitation. This diagram shows how different biomes are distributed based on a range of average annual temperatures and annual precipitation. You could see how a hot and wet climate corresponds to a tropical rainforest, while a hot and dry climate corresponds to a desert. A cold and icy climate, on the other hand, corresponds to the taiga and tundra. Let's take a closer look at the tundra. As we just saw, it's a cold and treeless biome with low growing vegetation. It has a short growing season of only about 4 months, which has long days in the summer. During this time, the upper layer of soil thaws and creates small pools of standing water. A key feature of this biome is the permafrost, which is an impermeable and permanently frozen layer of subsoil. The permafrost prevents water from draining and also prevents deep-rooted plants from growing. The tundra receives very little precipitation, so you typically find small woody shrubs, mosses, and lichens here. Dead plants and animals decompose very slowly, which means that organic matter accumulates in the soil over time, but it is low in nutrients. One of the major human impacts on this biome is the warming of the global temperatures, which is causing the permafrost to melt. This can lead to higher decomposition rates, which in turn releases more greenhouse gases into our atmosphere. The boreal forest is also known as the taiga. It is found between 50 degrees north and 60 degrees north latitudes. This biome is dominated by coniferous evergreen trees that can tolerate the cold winters and short growing seasons. The cold temperatures and low precipitation here result in slow decomposition. A fun fact about the coniferous trees is that their waxy needles contain compounds that are actually resistant to decomposition. As a result of the slow decomposition, the soil in the boreal forest contains a thick layer of organic material, but it's very poor in nutrients. This biome is an important source of trees for pulp, paper, and building materials, which has led to many forests being logged and deforested. The temperate rainforest is a coastal biome with moderate temperatures and high precipitation. It's located in the mid-latitudes, and the nearby ocean currents help to moderate the temperature, leading to mild summers and winters. Because of this mild climate, it has a very long growing season of nearly 12 months. Winters are rainy and summers are foggy. Like the boreal forest, the trees in the temperate rainforest are often used for lumber, and many have been converted into single-species tree plantations. The decomposition is slow due to the cool temperatures, which means the soil is low in nutrients. The understory of this biome is home to lots of ferns and mosses. Moving to the temperate seasonal forest, we find warm summers and cold winters, with over 1 meter of annual precipitation. This biome is dominated by broadleaf deciduous trees that lose their leaves when it gets cooler, just like our area here. The leaves of these trees decompose more easily, so the soil contains more nutrients and is more fertile. The high soil fertility and long growing season lead to greater plant productivity. This was one of the first biomes to be converted to agriculture on a large scale. The woodland or shrubland is characterized by hot, dry summers and mild, rainy winters. This biome is naturally prone to wildfires, and the plants here are adapted to fire and drought. For example, some plants produce seeds that will only open when exposed to the intense heat of a fire. The winter rains can cause leaching, so the soils in this biome are low in nutrients. Major agricultural uses of this biome include grazing by animals and growing drought-tolerant crops like grapes. However, increased human development and more frequent fires are making it difficult for the native species to survive. The temperate grassland or cold desert has cold, harsh winters and hot, dry summers. Plant growth is constrained by a lack of precipitation in the summer and cold temperatures in the winter. Like the woodland or shrubland, fires are also common here. The dominant plants are grasses and non-woody flowering plants, which have deep roots that store energy and allow for quick regrowth after a fire. The long growing season and rapid decomposition in this biome add a large amount of nutrients to the soil, making it very productive. This is why more than 98% of the tallgrass prairie in the United States has been converted to agriculture, and the shortgrass prairie is mostly used for growing wheat and grazing cattle. The tropical rainforest is a warm and wet biome located between 20 degrees north and 20 degrees south of the equator. It has little seasonal temperature variation and high precipitation. This biome has high productivity due to its frequent precipitation and warm temperatures, which leads to extremely rapid decomposition. Because the vegetation takes up nutrients so quickly, the soil has little to no nutrients and also lacks a lot of undecomposed organic matter. This is why farmers who grow crops here often have to keep moving to newly deforested areas. The tropical rainforest is the most biodiverse terrestrial biome, with 2/3 of Earth's terrestrial species found here. A dominant human threat to this biome is deforestation due to expanding forestry and agriculture. The tropical seasonal forest, or savanna, has warm temperatures and distinct wet and dry seasons. Precipitation only occurs during the summer, and the trees here have adapted to survive the drought by dropping their leaves during the dry season. While the warm temperatures promote decomposition, the low precipitation prevents plants from using the soil nutrients that are released. The soils are fairly fertile and can be farmed, which is why large areas have been converted to agricultural and grazing lands. Finally, we have the subtropical desert, which has hot temperatures, extremely dry conditions, and sparse vegetation. It is found between 30 degrees north and 30 degrees south latitudes. To prevent water loss, desert plants have small or non-existent leaves, or they are modified into spines. The outer layer of the plant is also thick with very few pores for water and air exchange. When rain does fall, annual plants grow. Major threats to this biome are climate change and the draining of underground water for human use. Thanks for checking this one out. Tune in next time as we talk about aquatic biomes.